allow me to say it's an absolute pleasure to meet up with you again, Sarah. I've always respected you as a leader with your heart in the right place and wanting the best for your team. So it's a pleasure, I should say, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Venkat. Pleasure to be here as well.
Excellent. Now, if you look at your career, Sarah, you have made some strategic transitions. Tell me about some of those inflection points that drove those transitions, Sarah.
Yeah, good call. I think, I don't know if it's strategic. I think it was more a feeling I was on the wrong path. And so I came out of uni, joined a bank in London, the Arab Bank, and within a management accounting role. And I wanted to be in a bank, but I don't think I wanted to be in a management accounting role. And I realized kind of the people I was working with, the type of role I was doing, it was very repeating every month in, month out, same processes. And I got bored very quickly and felt like it wasn't a role that I could be creative in. Came to New Zealand, worked at PwC, same role, but in finance, different org. And then I moved again to Fuji Xerox and moved into a management accounting role again. And I think the pivot for me was I had my cousin died suddenly. She was 28, and none of us saw that coming. And it really triggered me that life is so short, and actually I shouldn't really be in this career if I'm getting up every morning and that Sunday feeling of, oh gosh, I've got work tomorrow. And I realized I was on the wrong path. So I took myself back to uni and wanted to learn, be curious, and understand what other roles were out there for me. And did a master's in international business of Japanese, and studied my thesis on sales and marketing and how two different entities come together. And as a result of doing my research, the director of marketing at Xerox said to me, you know more about our organization than we do. Come and work for me. And that was the pivot. That was the pivot. And I haven't looked back.
Beautiful. Wonderful. And what triggered that interest in sales, Sarah? Because sales seems to have a poor reputation. What triggered?
Yeah, I think two things really. I think being in finance, I got to see the results. So I was looking at management accounting results and go, wow, why was this branch doing better than the other branch? So it got me really curious of understanding what was behind that, what was motivating it. Was it the people? Was it different market dynamics? So there was a curiosity there. And I think actually, if I recall when I was a child, I used to work at a local riding school and used to sell pony rides, like horse riding lessons to people. And what I found out very early that actually, instead of mucking out the horses, the owners put me in the little office that we had, this cabin, because they couldn't believe how well I was doing in terms of selling and booking horses in advance. So a mother would come and say, oh, Sarah, little Charlotte wants to ride this pony. And I go, oh, I'm sorry, that pony's gone. But if you pay in advance for the next 3 weeks and lock it in, no one's going to take that pony. And they'd go, okay. And so the owner would open up the till and there'd be all this cash. And they're going, what have you done? And I'd be, oh, I've forward sold all of these rides. So I think it was, I could do it. I resonated well with people. But for me, getting a quota when I arrived at Microsoft, it wasn't about, gosh, I've got this big number and I've got to close it. I kind of ignored that to some extent. And all I thought about is, how do I serve my customers and how do they use me to help them achieve what they're wanting to achieve in their organizations?
Beautiful. It's wonderful to hear. I'm learning new facets about you. But one part of me is thinking, Sarah, how can more women think more like you about sales?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I suppose I'd challenge you and say, is it a female thing or a guy thing? I think I hear from people in my team that this is a male who came to me and said, I never wanted to be a salesperson because I saw that it was perhaps egotistic, or it was this and it was that, and it wasn't an environment that I wanted to be in. And I know working in previous employers, that was the case. But I think at Microsoft, there were more women in my team when I first joined that were account managers, as an example. And I think there's a natural ability to have that EQ, to be empathetic, to listen, to lean in, and to not be a know-it-all, and to go, hey, look, you know, I wasn't a technologist. Customers were talking to me about this, that, and the other. I didn't even know what the word was, let them know actually how I could add value. And I think having that curiosity and fessing up and saying, look, I'm not sure what the answer is or how I can help, but I'm going to go phone a friend and come back to you. But I think as I've experienced through my career, I think, you know, there are way more women coming back into the workforce after having children, as an example. And I think, you know, connecting with someone recently this week who's just returned from mat leave, you know, I said, what have you learned over the last 6 months? And the person said to me, I've learned how to not put me first and actually how to put others first. Beautiful. And how I need to be better with time management. So I think there's so many qualities that women can bring to sales that yeah, I think we're seeing more and more of it, particularly at Microsoft.
Very nice. I mean, the only reason I asked that question, it's wonderful to see so many women in your team, Sarah, that I don't see elsewhere.
Interesting.
Yeah. and that's why I was asking that question. Now, let me step back a little bit. There is so much changing. You are in the technology industry, and every day there's something new. How does Sarah stay ahead of the change?
I think it's a great question. The answer is you never do, Venkat. You never do. If you look at some of the products you're releasing and updates every day, it's pages, and so I think the things that I do, like Microsoft has a learning day every month. So that's typically the second Friday in every month. So that is carved out. That is learning time. I read books. I listen to podcasts, and I am not a technologist at all. You know, I haven't got, I don't know code. I don't know, I've never had a computer science degree. So that creates a little bit of vulnerability for me because, you know, I feel a bit of a fraud sometimes, you know, in this role because I'm not a technologist. But what I do is I take myself out of my comfort zone. And I think COVID was a trigger for me. I thought, well, I've got more time because I'm not commuting. And I committed to myself to do Microsoft fundamental exams. So there's 9 different exams covering Azure, Modern Work, CRM, ERP, Power Platform, Data and AI. And I put myself out there and literally every quarter was doing another exam. So I've done all 9 of them now and I've passed them all. But I failed one of them 7 times. And so I got to the stage where I thought someone's going to phone me and go, look, just give up. You're never going to pass. But I kept going. And it gave me an understanding of what are the capabilities of these products and solutions, and what does that now mean in business sense? How could that be a new product or service for a customer, or how is that going to reduce costs or complexity or security, etc.? So it's having that curiosity. I think it keeps you up to date. I wouldn't say I'm ever ahead, but it keeps me up to date.
Wonderful. And that's wonderful to hear, right? I mean, that's what is the embodiment of what we call growth mindset, isn't it, Sarah? Right? Just learn
Absolutely.
it all. Yeah.
Yes. Try to.
Wonderful. Now, think about yourself, Sarah, right? You're running a large business, you've got multiple people, and you're in the technology business. That means you need to look at depth, at the same time range. How do you manage that, Sarah? Looks like lots on your plate.
Yeah, I think I've learned to manage it. Coming from the UK and moving to New Zealand was a real eye-opener for me, because I think in London you'd have one role and this was it, and that was your slither, and you stuck to that swim lane and you didn't bump into anyone else. And then I remember when I moved to New Zealand, you had like 15 hats on. It was like you were this, you were that, and it was like, seriously, like there are 10 people in the UK that would do that. It's like, nah, you've got to get on and do it. So I think I created that mindset for myself where you've got to be at scale, but at the same time you've got to identify what is important and what is that priority. You know, what is important and difficult, I suppose, if you look at the metric and go, right, how am I going to prioritize my time and energy to really focus on things that are important? And if they are difficult, how am I going to, you know, help others help me, or how am I going to prioritize my time and effort? So you can't just focus on one, because you're going to create this wave of unsuccessful area where you've not got enough pipeline, or you've not got enough opportunities, or you've abandoned customers and competitors have moved into them. So it's very much a motion that the team have to balance. I have to balance. And I think thinking about the short, mid and long term are motions that are fully on with everything that I do. And it changes based on other people's priorities and what our core strategy is. Right. But invariably, it's something that I'm good at and I've learned because of working in New Zealand.
Very nice, very nice. And that's why they say multidisciplinary skills is what everybody needs to build.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, what have you learned about building other greater leaders in sales teams, Sarah?
Great question. Great question. I feel like when I moved into a leadership position at Microsoft, I had massive imposter, right? I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I don't belong here. And I think, you know, we all have that. And I think I was leading people at the time in my first leadership role at Microsoft that had tenure, 25 years at Microsoft. So that was a bit daunting because it kind of felt like they should be my leader, I shouldn't be their leader. And I treated it as an opportunity to really identify, what does every person in my team need from me? How can I help them be successful? How do I create that psychological safety where they feel I've got their back and I give them enough safety to try and test and learn and fall over and pick themselves back up again. What you see is what you get with me. So I think there's no pretense, and I genuinely care. I really care. I think we spend so much time at work, and it's really important to me that people see me for who I am and what I can bring to them. And as I said previously, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. And so to surround myself with amazing people is really important. And I think the other thing that I really look for in a team is people who are hungry, who have got that aspiration to dig deep, to learn, to try new things. And I think if you can create that culture which has got that psychological safety, but also that innovative ability where everyone's got an equal voice and everyone feels heard, that's where the magic happens. And that's what I try and create in the teams that I lead.
Beautiful. In fact, I remember our first meeting in New Zealand. The first thing that struck me is, here is a leader who's caring. That's exactly what struck me, right? I mean, I remember you still sitting on that left. We were running this workshop, and that's what struck me first, right? And it's beautiful that you're saying that. Now, how are you marrying all that caring, Sarah, caring with coaching?
Yeah, I think it's a regular question right now, right? And I think particularly with COVID, I think we've all really accelerated into that caring mode. Are you okay? What's happening at home? How can I help? How can I support? Balancing that with, hey, we've got targets, we've got big numbers we need to achieve. This is what is expected of us, and there's an absolute fine line, fine balance. And I think, you know, over the last few months and now coming up for 2 years, I think what we've realized, or what I've realized personally, is creating that clarity is so important. You know, what is expected of you, Venkat? What does good look like, but what does great look like? And what's stopping you from getting to great? And I think being really clear and encouraging and saying, hey, you've got this, you know, I believe in you, you can do that, you know, all of those, you know, firm affirmations that are really going to help that person feel, yeah, I have got this and I can do this. I think really creates that self-belief that people can achieve it. And where people can't, I think there's so many different scenarios. If I think about the last 24 months as an example, people have had personal stuff go on, and deaths in the family, marriage breakups, you know, everyone has had their dramas. And I think having that listening ear, that caring, and making sure that we're putting the right support in front of our teams and helping them recover and get over that, and then leaning on the team and making sure that we can move forward is really important. And some people, you know, they want to change or they want to pivot, and I'm totally supportive of that. But I think it's going in with that coaching mindset, really getting to the crux of what is the challenge here for you? Right. What can I do to support you? And more importantly, what do you think the answer is? What do you need to be successful? Really, really helps navigate that coaching and caring motion.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm just thinking, Sarah, a lot of this caring and coaching, how does that help in keeping people accountable? What have you learned about keeping people accountable, Sarah?
Yeah, I think coaching is a great notion, and I think it's a word that's founded very, very often. And I've recently just put myself through the ICF coaching accreditation, and this has really unlocked something in me that perhaps was there but not structured and formed in a way that has been able to me to use in a practical way, or I've not had the confidence to be able to execute on it. But basically, creating that accountability is not you and I connecting and me saying, right, Venkat, you need to do A, B, C, D. Okay, you got that? And you're going, yeah. I'm going, Venkat, okay, we've got a gap here. You recognize the gap? Yes. What do you think is causing the gap? To having those open-ended questions and then asking, well, Venkat, what ideas do you have to close this gap? Or what plan do you have? And I think having that open-ended question is putting it back on you, and also making sure at the end of that coaching conversation is saying, okay, Venkat, what are the next steps from here? Please take me through them. And that is really then triggering that person to go, okay, right, what is that plan? And verbalizing that back. And I find that really creates that accountability because they've shared openly what they're going to do. And then the next question is, so Venkat, when will you get part A done? And that's where it kicks in. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now I'm going to step back a little bit, right? And I'm going to think about Sarah. Now, she's got lots going on. She's got to balance her body, heart, mind, and soul. How did she manage that?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think it's something I haven't done well, but more recently, I think when New South Wales was in lockdown for 106 days, as soon as it opened up, I was like, I've got to do something. So I started going to the gym, which I haven't done for 20 odd years. And a true story, after the first session, I fell down the stairs to the car park because my legs were like jelly because I hadn't done any exercise for years. But I really found that was good for me, get up early, go to the gym, feel like you've achieved something and feel tired physically. The other things I do, I go for a walk. I've got a lovely dog, Lulu, and we go for walks on a regular basis. And I really use that time just to observe my environment around me, focus on my breathing, getting joy from her. And there's a lovely walk that I do around a place called Beauty Point, and it's a bush track that follows the coastline, and it's really quite beautiful. And there's a beach I found at low tide, and it's got this rock on it, and I've called it my ponder rock. And so when it's low tide, I sit there and watch my dog having a swim. And over the past few months at low tide, I've noticed there's a whole load of glass on the beach, and I'm a big greenie at heart, and so I'm using the poop bags to go and pick up loads of glass. And actually last Sunday, I couldn't find any more glass, Venkat. So over the last few months, I have cleaned that beach, and I walked away feeling this amazing sense of fulfillment and achievement. That actually that glass, there was glass riddled for some reason on that beach, and now it's super clean. So it felt really good. So they're the kind of things that I like to do to ground me, and it's my time. It's I'm not with any other human. It's just my time, and that's really important to me.
Excellent. Now that you've balanced yourself, there is a need to discover your larger purpose in life, Sarah.
Yes.
How did you discover yours?
Well, when I was 13, I said to my friend Rachel, gosh, I'm 13 today, and life is going so quickly. I want to live another 100 years. So my life purpose was to live until I'm 113. And I think we all have that need and that want, that we want to leave the world in a better place than we found it. But for me, I've really uncovered over the last probably 2 or 3 years that moving more into that field of sustainability is something that's really at the heart and soul of who I am. I've been a vegetarian since I was 18 months old. I am always recycling and getting food scraps and putting them in the compost and cleaning up beaches, cleaning up rubbish, and really championing sustainable farming practices. I think something in New Zealand, having our own mini farm with chickens and sheep, really taught me a thing or two about, managing stock and creating quality of life for these animals, and nurturing the land. And I think, the human population is getting bigger and bigger. And so that's something that's super passionate, a super passion of mine. And so one of the things that I've done actually in my current role is create a sustainability in our small, medium and corporate business. So I'm leading that, and we've got an amazing team of about 30, 40 people who are dedicating their time and energy to help us learn more about sustainable practices at home, but more importantly, engaging with our customers to help them create more sustainable business models and also understand how they measure their current sustainability scores, as an example. So I've managed to kind of use Microsoft as a platform for my life purpose, I feel, and I'm excited to see where that goes in creating impact for our customers. But more importantly, making me feel like my life purpose is being fulfilled.
Wonderful, wonderful. And one last question, Sarah. I need to be respectful of your time as well. Now, you have had a wonderful career so far. You would have received a lot of advice. And remember, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of leaders who would be watching what we're talking. What kinds of advice would you give them for them to have a great career in sales and leadership?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think so many people give you advice along the way. And it is what it is. It's advice, right? And I think I've learned over the years to pick and choose what I want to hear and I suppose what I want to believe. But I think the humans that stand out for me were people that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And it was their advice or their guidance that really triggered me to start looking a bit more inwards and to stop worrying about what others felt or thought of me. And actually that was just coming from within me and from nowhere else. That was a belief that I had. And so I think it's really surround yourself with a team of advisors, people that you can trust, people that know you, have seen you in different shapes and forms over the years, and can give you that open, honest, sometimes hard to hear feedback, but more importantly, guidance that can help you move forward. And I think that's something that I lean on. If I've got challenges, I'll lean on that network, and they soon put me back on course, and off I go again. So that's how I've navigated it.
Excellent, excellent. Allow me to say thank you very much, Sarah. I mean, it's wonderful perspectives. Personally, I have learned so much more about you, in spite of the fact possibly we know each other for about 5 years now. Right? It's amazing. And I want to go ahead and thank you for your time. Thanks for openly sharing and showing that you truly care. That's the most important thing, Sarah. Thank you so very much.